Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to a new video. I hope everybody's doing well. Anyways, if you're new here, be sure to subscribe, and if you enjoy this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. But let's get started with the first story. Am I wrong for having two beds in my guest room instead of a queen and refusing to let my in-laws change the room? Hi Reddit, this happened earlier this year and my in-laws are no longer staying with me. Background info: my husband and I are 24, female and male, have been married for 2 years. I am a social worker and my husband works as an electrician. We own a 3-bed, 2-bath together. We have our bedroom, our home office, and a guest bedroom. My state's foster care system is one of the worst in the country. There isn't anywhere close enough to foster homes to meet the total number of children in care. As a result of this, children often get stuck at hospitals, psych facilities, group homes, etc. Oftentimes, we have children that have to sleep at CPS facilities in sleeping bags on the floor because there's just nowhere for them to go. It's very common for social workers to bring children home with them, myself included. It's hard to find emergency placements for siblings, so if I can't find a place for them for the night to keep them together, I will often just bring them home with me. My husband and I are child-free, but he's super supportive of this. So our guest bedroom has 2 twin beds, both with pull-out beds underneath. This means that I can give 4 children their own beds for the night. Earlier this year, my husband's brother and his wife were temporarily homeless. They lost their jobs and couldn't renew their lease. They had to scramble to find new jobs and a place to live. We let them stay with us for 2 months. I didn't really want to, but it was the right thing to do. They were very pissed about the 2 twin beds thing. Because of the way the bed frames are, you cannot push the beds together, and the room is a little small and oddly shaped, so you can't fit a queen air mattress in the room without taking the twin beds out. We don't have a garage, so there would be nowhere to put the beds. They wanted me to get rid of the beds or put them in a storage unit so they could put a queen air mattress in the room. I refused because I didn't want to go through all that trouble when they shouldn't be staying for long anyways. And I worked hard to get the room to look the way I feel is welcoming to the kids. I don't want to change it. I didn't tell them this, but I also didn't want them to get too comfortable with the room because I didn't want them to be tempted to stay for any longer than necessary. I would rather house kids in an unstable situation than my ungrateful in-laws. My husband took my side and told them to get a hotel if they don't like it, but otherwise be quiet. He said that if they keep complaining, they'll have to leave. He's a good husband. My in-laws have been telling everyone who will listen that we are a-holes who made them sleep in a kid's bed. My husband has been telling his whole family to back off, basically, and don't talk to us unless you have something nice to say. Am I wrong, Reddit? There's like a dozen people who think we're the a-holes, so I like some judgment. I mean, I feel like if somebody is giving you a room in their house and they're helping you temporarily while you get back on your feet, you shouldn't be complaining too much. After all, it's not like there's only a small bed in the room and you're asking, hey, this bed is too small for us. Can we bring a bigger bed, an air mattress? There's 2 beds in there. Use the 2 damn beds for both of you. And after you're done, get the hell out. Top comment: they have a lot of demands for people who get free housing. Don't let them come back. Those kids sound like they need a place to stay a lot more than those spoiled in-laws. If anyone takes their side, tell them to house those 2. By the way, I'm happy that people like you and your husband exist. And then OP said, they are not welcome to come back, and neither is almost anyone in my husband's family now. I don't understand how he's such a great guy, but he comes from a family of pricks. Yeah, it happens a lot. Since you will see somebody who's such a nice person, they're so good morally, everything. They have good values, and their families are terrible. Am I wrong for leaving my husband at the hospital after he refused to be in the delivery room with me? This happened 2 months ago, but it's still causing some major friction in my family, so I need some outside opinions. I, 29 female, and my husband Jake, 32 male, have been together for 6 years, married for 3. We were both aesthetic, and we found out we were expecting our first child. Pregnancy was tough for me, though. I had severe morning sickness, gestational diabetes, and was generally miserable, but Jake was supportive and sweet the whole way through, which made it bearable. You guys, did I say aesthetic? I meant to say ecstatic. You guys, I'm bilingual, so some words I genuinely can't pronounce. Anyways, as we got closer to my due date, we discussed birth plans. I was adamant that I wanted Jake in the delivery room. I needed his support, and he'd always agree. However, a few weeks before my due date, Jake started acting strange. He was distant, distracted, and wouldn't engage in any baby-related discussions. I thought he was just anxious and about becoming a dad, so I didn't press him too much. The day I went into labor, Jake drove me to the hospital but seemed off. He was quiet and kept checking his phone. When we got there, he pulled the nurse aside and spoke to her privately. She came back and told me Jake wouldn't be in the delivery room because he was uncomfortable with blood and medical procedures. I was stunned. He'd never mentioned this before. I begged him to stay, told him I needed him, but he just kept saying, I can't do this. I was heartbroken and furious, but I didn't have much time to dwell on it as my contractions were getting stronger. Jake said he'd be in the waiting room and kissed me on the forehead before leaving. I was left alone, crying and feeling utterly abandoned. Labor was long, painful, and traumatic. I was alone the entire time except for the medical staff. When our son was finally born, I was exhausted emotionally and physically. The nurse handed me my son, and all I felt was a deep sadness that Jake wasn't there to share this moment. After I was taken to the recovery room, I asked the nurses to get Jake. She came back and said he left the hospital hours ago. I couldn't believe it. I called him repeatedly, but he didn't answer. Finally, I sent him a text saying I was dead and he could find his own way home. I didn't see him until the next day. He showed up at the hospital with flowers and an apology, saying he'd panicked and needed some air. He claimed he'd gone home to shower and change and fell asleep, which I didn't buy for a second. I told him I didn't believe him. I was overwhelmed with anger and hurt, and I told him he had let me down in the worst possible way. He kept apologizing, saying he knew he'd messed up, and he'd do anything to make it right. I didn't want him near me or our son at the moment, so I asked him to leave. He tried to protest, but I told him I needed time to process everything. He left, and I spent the rest of my hospital stay alone with my baby, trying to grapple the enormity of what had happened. Anyways, that's crazy. Since then, Jake has been trying to make amends. He's been taking parenting classes, attending therapy, and is constantly trying to be present and supportive. But I can't shake the feeling of betrayal. He abandoned me at one of the most vulnerable moments of my life. Every time I look at him, I remember being alone in the delivery room, terrified and in pain, wondering why the person who promised to be by my side wasn't there. My family is split. I'm being too hard on Jake that he made a mistake and is clearly remorseful. They say he's a good father and partner otherwise, and I shouldn't focus on moving forward for this. I mean, can you really be a good father and a good partner if you literally abandoned the person that's giving birth to your child and risking their life and their health to give birth to y'all's child at the most vulnerable moment of their life? Like, you can't. People just piss me off. Anyways, yeah. They say he's a good father and a partner otherwise, and I should focus on moving forward for the sake of our child. Others think that what he did was unforgivable and I should leave him. They believe I'll never truly trust him again, and that's no foundation for a marriage. Exactly. So, I don't know. Like, let's just hope she doesn't have more kids with this guy, because at the end of the day, like, he could have said, oh, I don't feel comfortable being in the delivery room, as crazy as that sounds, and for you to take somebody that you trust, and I'll just wait in the, like, he could have gave her a heads up. How do you just say, oh, the entire 9 months she's pregnant, you're acted all happy, and then you're going to be supportive when she's giving birth, and then out of nowhere, you just say, oh, no, I can't do this, at the same exact moment she's giving birth to the damn baby? Oh, he gave me a kiss on the forehead, and he was waiting in the waiting room. And then I told the nurses to get him, and he told me he left an hour ago. That literally sounds so crazy. Like, what? I agree with this comment. Anyways, the commenter said, Natty Eho, I would divorce him. 1, he knew about this problem way in advance, but didn't share it. This caused you to have no one to support you. 2, he wasn't even available to see the child when he was born or check in on you. 3, it seems he didn't do anything to address the problem. 4, he decided his discomfort was more important than your discomfort, or even your life. Exactly, like, she's literally giving birth. Like, you seeing blood is not going to, kill you and send you to God. You'll be okay. Anyways, it would have been possible that something would have gone wrong, and if you weren't able, there wasn't anyone able to make a medical decision. Exactly, like, that's even worse. Like, the fact that he left the hospital, now going in the room is one thing, and backing out at the last minute, but leaving the entire hospital for hours while your wife's entire life and health is at risk. Like, when my mom was giving birth to one of my younger siblings, my youngest sister, who's like 5 now, they left the umbilical cord in her, and she was bleeding. There was a lot going on. It wasn't for my dad and my other sister being there with her, my mom literally would have died. Like, why would you just leave the entire hospital? That literally makes no sense.